Are you ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
This is podcast 169 with the great Cedric Cornbread Maxwell. Max, how are you, my friend?
I am doing just fine, buddy. Doing fine. I cannot not complain at all.
Let me ask you
Another day in paradise.
Exactly. Let me ask you about, so let's start with your early career. So what were you like as a child when you were growing up in Charlotte? Let's start with that first, chronological order here. So,
well, chronological order, let's go a little bit further. I was from Kinston, North Carolina, which is about 4 hours away.
Okay.
And we grew up as pretty much a normal child and found out a bunch of different things about life later on. You know, that there was a bunch of swirl around little Cedric. I had a biological father. His name was DeFord Small. And then he didn't marry my mom. And then I got adopted by Manny Maxwell, who was in the military and became my dad. And that was beginning. We moved from Kinston, North Carolina to Hawaii. And we lived there for 3 years. And those were my formative years in the first grade to the fourth. And then I finally got back to North Carolina and came back, and I grew up in Kinston for the rest of the time.
Yeah. So let me ask you about early basketball career. So why did you want to start playing basketball? Was it because you were tall? Was it because you just had a knack for it?
I think in Kinston, my hometown, basketball was very, very popular. And that's one of the things that people really, just love to play. So it was in my neighborhood. And in Hawaii, we really didn't play basketball. And then coming back in the fourth grade, everybody was playing ball, and I picked it up and started to like the game and, the competitive nature of the game, and just kind of went from there.
So tell me about playing at UNC Charlotte at one point when you were playing in that school.
Well, I'll go a little bit further.
Okay.
I'll go back, regress a little bit.
Okay.
To my junior year in high school. I didn't play organized basketball until I was a senior in high school. My junior year in high school, I went out for the basketball team and I got cut. And then I grew over the summer about 4 inches. Went from 6'3" to 6'7" and a half. And the coach asked me about going back out for the team. And I told him, no, I'm not. He's like, why? So you can cut me again? He's like, no, I wouldn't worry about it. Well, that led me to be one of the best players in Eastern North Carolina. Matter of fact, the tallest, and ended up going to the All-Star game, and then eventually got a scholarship going to UNC Charlotte.
Now, talk about being drafted by the Celtics. Talk about that. That moment was like being drafted when you came to Boston.
Was very excited. I wasn't excited about coming to Boston. The next team that picked actually was, I always get it wrong, but it was actually Chicago. I was the 12th player picked in the draft. I would have preferred going to the team after that, Atlanta, because I was from the South, and I was very familiar with the South. So coming to Boston wasn't one of these things I really looked at as an ideal place to come because of just never have been here in Boston, in the area. I think the closest I've come to being in Boston was we played a game versus Robert Parrish Centenary University in Springfield, the tip-off classic. And that was, I think, my junior year. So that was the only time I'd ever been in Massachusetts.
So when you first met Larry, how did you first react to him? Because I remember a while ago you said you didn't think he was that good of a player, but then we started laying up shots. You were like, geez, this one guy can play really well. Why is that?
It was just my expectation level
was
low because I hadn't been around a lot of white guys who could really play the game at a high level. I was a prejudiced basketball player, an ignorant basketball player. And I got my eyes opened by Larry Joe Bird. It isn't necessarily your color, but your skill level and your desire.
Yeah.
And my first year playing with JoJo White and John Havlicek and all these veteran guys who had gotten older, and then not winning. And then I think my second year in the league, I averaged 19 points a game. So Larry came in my third year in the NBA, and I was the big cheese. So I was the one that's going to have to be knocked off the pedestal. And playing Larry those first couple of days, we both got a mutual respect for each other.
Yes.
In the fact of my ability to score and his ability to score. And finally, Bill Fitch put us together on a team instead of competing against each other, and things just naturally clicked.
Now, with Red, was Red kind of up and down? How was he to deal with Red on a regular basis? Because I heard he could be kind of nice and mean at the same time. How was he to deal with when you dealt with him?
Red was good. I mean, my first year in the league was coming to Boston and meeting with Red and meeting with my first coach in the NBA was Tommy Heinsohn.
Yeah.
And so meeting with those two guys, it was kind of scary. You know, you had two legends of the game. The first time I'd ever saw Red Auerbach in person actually was at Madison Square Garden. I was playing in the NIT, and Red Auerbach was down there scouting me and some more players.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, all my teammates said, "Oh my God, Red Auerbach is here." And I really didn't know until somebody pointed them out later in the game, and I looked over and he was sound asleep. So I was like, damn, I did not impress this guy at all. So it was really kind of crazy in meeting Red the first time, or seeing him the first time, and then finally meeting him later on once I got drafted.
Wow. So did you feel bad when you got traded after you won? Because I remember you said that when you got traded that you and Red didn't get along at that point. Was that something that you felt like should have not have happened? You getting traded from Boston to Clippers and stuff?
No, I think it was time. I think the relationship hadn't now gone another way.
Yeah.
I had got hurt in '85. Yeah. And Kevin McHale started. And I could see that I guess the mantle had been passed, the torch had been passed, that Kevin was going to be a starter, and the Celtics weren't interested in me coming off the bench. So there had to be a trade. So I understood that, and that's just for the professional basketball. That guys move on. I think the only thing that I felt bad about was, I guess, just a bunch of noise I heard from the Celtics, from my teammates about, you know, me not wanting to play and all these other things that kind of went along with it. And that to me upset me. I think and it really upset me, the fact that I never heard from any of my teammates once I got traded. Yeah. You know, not even a phone call to say, "Hey, dude, you had a great run here. We won multiple championships, but, you know, good luck to you." So that was the only thing that kind of upset me once I got traded.
Mm. Now, how was retirement for you when you retired? Because was that a bittersweet moment for you to say goodbye to the game? Well, at least playing was.
No. I think if you talk to most players in any sport or any athlete who's done it for a long time, there's a time that you know, and I can't exactly pinpoint it, but there's just a time you wake up and you're going, "Dude, I'm done. I don't have this no more. I don't have the desire to be that person again." And it's a love affair that I had with the game forever and a day, and all of a sudden one day you realize that your time has passed. So I did not have a tough time when it came to moving on and transitioning in life.
Let me ask you a question about Tim Duncan. Would he be who he is without Dr. J, or no? Tim Duncan. Would you agree with that statement or no?
Would you repeat that again?
Would you agree that Tim Duncan wouldn't be who he is without Dr. J? Tim Duncan.
Tim Duncan, I don't know. I mean, I think that a lot of players, not just Tim Duncan, but I think players now really stand on the shoulders of players before.
Yeah.
And I think that's the interesting part about it. It's like you look at it, you're going, well, how would I be without Bill Russell? Or the Southern have Zach Sanders.
Yeah.
And I remember one day having I was in a meeting, actually a little conference with Zach, and I stopped the meeting. I said, look, I don't normally do this, but I want to compliment Zach Sanders because I had to get on his shoulders. And it proceeds down the line that's what happens. You're on somebody else's shoulders. So probably Tim Duncan was on Dr. J's shoulders, or Michael Jordan was on Dr. J's shoulders, and it goes down the line with those great players you've learned from over the years.
Now, tell me about what it was like getting into broadcasting, because how do you transition from playing to broadcasting like that? That must be an easy transition, wasn't it, for you?
It was tough. I think it was very tough when I think about it. And it depends on what you're doing. Again, if you do television, that is a lot easier because you are painting those pictures with words. You're painting the picture with pictures. You're painting something in somebody's imagination with pictures. You can see the picture on the screen and they can look at it. You can talk about that. But when you're doing radio and as you would know, being without sight, I have to paint a picture in your mind with my words or my thoughts. And that, to me, that's a lot tougher. And even more so when you are the analyst, because your window of opportunity is a very, very small one. Whereas your broadcast partner, the guy who's doing play-by-play, Sean Grande right now, gets a bigger opportunity to express himself. As an analyst, your window of opportunity is very, very small. So you got to get bang for your word. Every word you say, you got to get bang for that word. So you have to get catchphrases. You have to do small things that people will understand, that you're trying to convey excitement or sadness, and you have to do it in probably about 2 or 3 seconds. And that's tough to do.
How did you first meet Sean Grande?
I met Sean Grande the first time he did Howard David was my second broadcast partner.
Yeah.
Sean Grande came in one day and did a replacement game for Howard David at the time.
Yeah.
And when he left, he did that one game, and that's when I met Sean. And Sean left and went to Minnesota, did the games for the Minnesota team with Kevin Garnett, and then eventually left Minnesota and came back, and we've been together now 20 years as broadcast partners.
That's crazy. That's really great. Now, let me ask you about coaching. You don't get asked probably a lot about how is it coaching the Long Island Surf of the USBA?
I hated it.
You did?
I hated it.
Why?
Because some people are meant for coaching positions. Some people like to teach. Some people like the challenge of getting players up. I don't like that. It wasn't my forte. I think because in to a degree, when you are a coach, I think you have to somewhat be an asshole, and and that's just not my forte. I think that I don't like it. Like, and especially in the USBL, I think the reason I say it was bad because I had a bunch of players from New York who believed that they should have been in the NBA. And I was trying to explain to them, I said, dude, if you guys were as good as you thought, you wouldn't be here with me. You'd be in the NBA. So that was a little tough with the players that I had. So I did not enjoy it. I had 1 year, I think I was 15 and 14 or 15 and 13. We made the playoffs. We ended up losing to a team in Maine. And that was my last time coaching.
Why do you think today's players today aren't? I feel like the team part of the game is starting to go down a little bit. Do you find that to be the case? Like today, the team, like current teams these days, they pass the ball more selfishly. I feel like there's not a lot of team play. Are you seeing that at all in the league?
I think it all depends on what team you're talking about. If you look at teams like Phoenix, they move the ball. If you look at Golden State, they are primary. They move the ball around. They swing it around. They're not ball dominant. Most of the teams right now are set in a certain play where they'll set a pick and roll on the outside, try to penetrate to the inside. But if you look at Golden State swings the ball. Multiple guys touch it. You're moving out the basketball. That's how Curry gets these shots off the way he does, coming off these picks, moving well. That is the hardest team to stop because they have so many multiple touches, great ball movement, and great body movement. So I think that some teams really do it well and some teams don't do it as well. I think the Celtics sometimes get into that pigeonhole where you get Jason Tatum maybe over dribbling, or you might get Jaylen Brown over dribbling, and the ball has a tendency to stop. They're going to get better when they have a trust and belief that multiple guys touch the basketball on almost every possession.
Why do you think in the NBA, back when you were playing, do you feel like that team, your team that you played on, was your team looks you guys seem like you're very loose? Would you say you guys were a very loose, like fun team? You guys would go out to dinner afterwards, stuff like that?
Yeah, we did. I think we were a close knit team, and I think it's because you've gone through the blood, sweat, and tears. You've gone through the battles, you've gone through the wars. When you're on the road, sometimes we ate in different places together. We had great times. So yeah, there was a connection. And when you win a championship or multiple championships, you will always be linked with those players and the good times that you had. So yeah, you form a great bond. Like I say right now, my best bond might be with Robert Parrish.
Yeah.
Because he was from Louisiana. We played each other in college a lot. So I knew him better than I knew anybody else. So my relationship with him was really good. And down the line, after that, it was, it depends on who you were individually.
Yeah. Who would you say is better, LeBron or Jordan? Please say Jordan. You could say either way, but who do you think is better, LeBron or Jordan?
No, I wouldn't necessarily say Jordan.
No?
I would say you asked me about those two players, but I would go further. I would go back in the annals and I would look at Bill Russell, who won 11 championships. Or I look at the most dominant player maybe ever to play the game was probably Wilt Chamberlain, who had all these records, which people talk about now. It was one year he averaged 50 points a game. Another year that he played every minute of every game that season. He averaged 52 minutes a game. So it means he played in every overtime. Never fouled out of the NBA game. The only player ever to have 100 points in the NBA game. And so Wilt Chamberlain, to me, I don't even talk about LeBron and Jordan. I think I have to go back and talk about those two gentlemen before I talk about LeBron and Jordan.
Interesting point. Now, you mentioned something interesting about the team with Larry Bird and the team. Why did you say you guys were looked at as a mostly white team because of Larry? Do you remember when you said that once? It was on Larry Bird.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think because that's what it was. That was perception. That was the perception of a lot of people that we were a white team because we had Kevin, because we had Larry, because we had Danny Ainge. And you look at the rest of the NBA. The rest of the NBA did not have as many white players. And so that's why people looked at us as a white team, especially when you have your star player of your team being white. So I think that's why they looked at it in that way, or I've looked at it in that way.
Now, let's talk about real quick how me and you first met. So I met you back in 2009, I think it was, and they were playing Minnesota Timberwolves. Do you remember that game? I met you the first time. It was back in 2009.
I have no idea. You're talking 2009, man. That was, how many years ago was that?
Like, see, it was a long time ago, but
no, I don't remember going that far back, bro. I hate to tell you that. It's there's a lot of things I don't remember now. It's like, people ask me, what do you remember? I said, there's some things I remember, there's a lot of things I don't. It's like, even when I had my jersey retired by the Celtics, when I gave my speech, I didn't include Sean Granby.
No.
I didn't say nothing about my current broadcast partner. He got mad about it. He said, you didn't even use my name. I said, Sean, my brother was there, and I didn't even use his name. I said, because you forget about stuff. And I tried to be all-inclusive by saying, you know what? This is to everybody who loves me. So when you talk about my memory, don't get offended if I don't remember stuff like that. I remember meeting you, but I could not tell you the time nor date.
Well, I can tell you that it was in March, and it was against Minnesota Timberwolves, and McHale was coaching at the time too. I remember that. Yeah. It was actually the afternoon game during the day. It was a weekend game, and
do you like Sean Grandy? You guys remember dates and times and events? I don't remember them because there's a collection now. I realized I've been around the game. I've been broadcasting 26 years. You know the number of games I've done? I played for 11 years.
Yeah.
So I can't remember thousands and thousands of games or really only some specific times in my life that I look back and, I remember this or I remember that. I can tell you about it. But just a lot of individual games is hard to do.
Yeah. Now, I got a funny question for you. Why isn't your name on any video games at all? I think it needs to be on a video game, basketball game.
It actually is.
It is?
I was in the Y2, whatever this K thing. I was in it. I got a check from the video company because I wasn't. So yeah, I have been in these games. Matter of fact, somebody sent me a profile of me playing in the game. So yeah, I'm actually in the games.
Okay, because when I listen to the game, I can't hear your name. When I play the video games, I can't hear your name on the games at all. When I'm playing when I'm playing the team that you played on.
Well, you need to call whatever that sports company is, because I know you'd be good.
Yeah.
And say, why don't you guys have Cedric Maxwell's name in there? So I couldn't tell you that.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that should be a possibility. Now, have you ever done a voice for your video game? You should. I think you should broadcast for like the 2K game. I'd love to see you on that because I think it'd be fun for you to do that.
It would be probably, but I think that what they have right now is Eddie Palladino, who is the Celtic broadcaster right now. Not the broadcaster, but the play-by-play, the public announcer. Yeah. He's actually on it, and they've got a bunch of the guys who are public announced guys around the NBA, and they're in these games talking about the players.
Now, when you put it in the All-Star weekend, was your adrenaline running high then when you played?
I never played in the All-Star weekend.
For the All-Star weekend?
No.
Well, you mentioned the All-Star game.
I never have played in the All-Star game. I was not an All-Star player. I know people thought I was. So you had to make the All-Star team. You were Finals MVP. I was like, no, I never made the All-Star team. So I never was in that situation.
Now, when you played with JoJo White, was he kind of your mentor?
JoJo White was very much my mentor.
Yeah.
We are born, I think, about a week apart. JoJo's birthday is on the 14th of November. Mine is the 21st.
Yep.
And when I first got to the Celtics, JoJo was the first actual Celtic player I remember meeting, and that was at Camp Millbrook. I came up during the summertime. I was drafted by the team. They put you out in Camp Millbrook. You did the basketball camps, and then you guys played at night. And JoJo White was the first Celtic player that ever came to one of those basketball camps. And so in meeting him, it was really, really cool. He did become a mentor, but more than that, a great friend.
Now, it's funny. McHale comes out. Why do you think Larry never comes out to Boston? He never come back to visit here. Like McHale comes a lot. Parrish comes back a lot. You're always here, but Why do you think Larry doesn't come out to visit Boston?
That I don't know. Last time I think Larry is very, very shy about that. He doesn't want to take away from the players themselves. Remember last time he was here, he was coaching for Indiana.
Yeah.
He was scouting for Indiana, not even coaching. He was, I think, the president of basketball operations. So he came to a Celtic game. And literally, they stopped the game to acknowledge Larry. And Larry, the whole chant. And I just think that Larry wants to step away from the spotlight.
Yeah.
He doesn't like to take away from the players on the floor. And that is remarkable because a lot of times, guys want that attention. Larry Bird doesn't want that attention.
And were you shocked at all when he came back?
For that particular game, I was a little surprised, but because he was, president of basketball operations, he was following the team to see what else they needed, how they were going to perform during the playoffs. So he wanted to get a bird's, I can't believe I'm saying that, bird's eye view of what was going on with his team live and in person.
Tell me about the I got the ball moment when you dropped the basketball and it fell in your hands like 3 or 4 times during the championship.
Well, the I got the ball moment, that was essentially when the Celtics won their last championship.
Yes.
And I happened to be on the floor, and my broadcast partner, Sean Grandy, was giving a big speech about the Celtics and what they were doing, and we won the next championship. And as he's saying this, Big Baby Davis throws the ball up in the air, and after he was the last person to have it, instead of keeping the ball in his hands, he throws it up in the air, and the ball bounces 1, 2, and falls right to my arms. And so as Sean is speaking, I just cut him off, and I go, "I got the ball." So that's what happened. That's how that happened. Eventually, Sam Cassell came over, wrapped the ball away from me. And, the rest was history.
Tell me about when you broadcast with Glenn Waterway.
My broadcasting wasn't with Glenn. The only thing I've done with Glenn was I was on Glenn Waterway's show when he was doing Drive Time for WEEI.
Yeah.
And I'd be on the Glenn Waterway show, and we had some fun. Glenn was really good. He knew the game well. I think Glenn is now retired, and he lives someplace down in Arizona.
And you mentioned Howard David as your first partner. Have you and him been in touch since you left broadcasting?
Well, Howard, my first broadcast partner was Spencer Ross.
Okay, Spencer.
And he was here for probably about a year and a half or 2. And then Howard David came in and took his place. And I think Howard was here for 3 years.
Yeah.
And Howard is now he has a podcast that he does. So I'm on this podcast. Maybe he'll call me maybe every 2 or 3 weeks to come on and talk about the Celtics or just the state of the NBA. So yeah, I do keep up with people like that. I used to know.
You do. And tell me about your podcast, because I listen to your podcast all the time. I love your podcast, by the way. I must need to say that for the record.
It's really cool, and thank you very much for acknowledging it. Nick Gelso, who is one of my business partners now.
What's his name? Mitch what? I'm sorry.
Nick Gelso.
Okay.
And he had a media company. And he asked me one day about doing a podcast. And I was a little reluctant. And then all of a sudden he asked me to do it again. And I was like, why not? And I had so much fun with it. And I've had so many great guests, from Bakari Seller to used to be a contributor on CNN. I've had Robert Parrish. I had Kevin McHale. I've had James Worthy. I had
Rick Mahorn.
I mean, it go down the line. Tony Allen. I just recently did one with Paul Pierce.
Yep.
Probably going to have one coming up here with Kevin Garnett.
Yep.
I've had a lot of fun. Ray Allen. So I've had a lot of fun doing the podcast. It's been a lot of fun.
What about Muggsy?
I have never reached out to Muggsy.
No?
Muggsy, I'm not sure about this particular market. Sometimes you look for markets and look for niches. How would he move the needle in this market? Probably wouldn't, because people aren't really familiar with Muggsy. Whereas it probably would be better off doing something with Dale Curry, who right now would move the needle because of his son, the way he's played, and all the things right now Dale is going through.
Well, no. What I meant was actually, I think you should get Muggsy on your podcast as a guest. Would that be something you would ever do?
Well, I don't know. It depends again on. I look for people and see how they would move the broadcast needle here in this market, and I'm not sure if Muggsy would move the needle for my particular audience.
Yeah. So, who's been your favorite guest you've had so far on your podcast?
I think my normally it's my ex-teammates. I had so much fun with Robert Parrish.
Yeah.
I had so much fun with Nate Archibald and Kevin McHale. It's just being familiar with those guys and telling more stories. The one guy I hope eventually to get on my podcast is probably going to be Larry Bird.
Yeah.
But Larry hasn't done a lot of interviews, and Larry has backed away from the game. So I understand his privacy, but I would still love to have him on as a guest.
Yeah. Have you ever asked him about it?
Yep, I have, but I didn't really get an answer.
Oh, wow.
So I've just respected his privacy.
And someone like when you played against guys like Moses and stuff like that, all those guys, were you ever friends with a lot of your enemy teammates? I should say, or not enemy teammates, but the guys you played against.
Not really.
No.
I have tendency to not really be around guys like that because if I played against you, I wanted that competitive edge to know that I might have to do something that might be a little across the line, and I've never wanted to do that with a friend. So I've always wanted that to be able to keep that competitive edge.
Yeah. And do you feel that were there any guys when you played or when you broadcast that have ever come up to you and say, Max, I don't like what you said? Did that ever happen to you in your broadcast career?
Yeah, I've had a lot of players, a lot of people. Kevin Garnett talked about it. The last time it was, I think, the last year was when Kyrie Irving came in and stepped on the leprechaun.
Yeah.
And kind of whacked his feet after they won a game, and that was the day that he had the water bottle thrown at him. Now, no connection at all, but Kevin said, because when he stepped on the leprechaun, it kind of smudged it. I said it on air, and Kevin Garnett later on came back and echoed the same thing. He said, "Damn, man, I can't believe nobody else got mad about that. Only person got mad was you." I said, "Well, that's just the way that it happened." So yeah, I've had players say good things about me like that.
And when you do critique you like that, does it make you mad when you get critiqued on what things you say, or does it not bother you like that?
No, you as a broadcaster, you have to have a thicker skin, and it's like some people aren't going to like you. It's like somebody was talking about my book. If These Walls Could Talk, by Cedric Maxwell, and the guy bought the book. And he said, well, he said the book was a good read, but I don't think Cedric Maxwell was that good. Matter of fact, he stepped up occasionally and, to big moments. Well, first of all, that's not accurate, but the fact that he would go out and spend money on a book that I wrote and talk about me, and I rent a space in his head for a little bit, that to me, that's enough gratification.
Is your book available on audio by any chance?
It is.
Okay.
It is going to be available in audio. I don't know right now. I have to find out from my publisher about that. But I know we are going to do an audio book.
Okay.
I think once this one gets done, Howard, matter of fact, Nick Gelso has the rights right now to do an audio book.
Okay.
So yeah, we are going to have one coming out.
Now, for that book, can you please? I'm begging you. Can you please record yourself reading it? Because I won't read it. I won't get it if you don't narrate it.
I'll have parts in it.
You will.
I'll have parts in it. I won't narrate the whole thing. I'll be in it,
Okay.
and I'll talk about segments of it.
Okay.
But I won't talk about the entire book.
Oh.
So I'll meet you halfway. I'll be in it, but I won't do the entire book.
Really? Okay. Interesting. So who do you have narrating it?
I don't know right now. We're going to find somebody who is a good narrator, who has a good voice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't particularly think I'm going to do the entire book. It's just like I did not write the book.
Oh.
Mike Eiserman wrote the book for me, and pretty much what I did was had conversations with him, and then that's how everything kind of went that way.
Oh. Okay. So you'll still have audio. So you'll have audio parts in the book then. Okay, that makes sense,
Yeah,
right?
I will.
Okay, great. And when's that coming out? The date you said?
The book is already out. The
Okay.
book has been out. The audio version is probably going to be coming out probably sometimes within the next 2 or 3 months.
Okay. So like March, well, something like that. Well, again, no day. I'm just pinpointing it. Okay, it's like March around like 2-3 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, I will get that book. Now, let me ask you about a play. I ask about a lot. Is Sidney Wicks? How was he to be around?
Sidney and Curtis Rowe
Yeah.
were two misunderstood players for the Celtics. They were great players.
Mm.
They understood the game.
Yeah.
But in Boston, there was a certain fit that you had to have. And because Sidney was a little bit more flamboyant,
Yeah.
he did not fit in with Dave Cowens and John Havlicek and JoJo White. He was more flamboyant and just didn't fit the mold for this team.
Yeah. And what about Curtis Rowe?
Curtis turned out to be one of my better friends. He educated me a lot about the game, about how to play hard and what to do and all those things. So, yeah, I really like Curtis's work ethic in the game. He worked. He wasn't as talented as Sidney, but, man, he could play at a high level.
Yeah. And what about you mentioned Pat Riley several times in interviews. I've already mentioned Pat Riley before. Was he someone that you looked up to?
No.
No.
Didn't look up to. I respected him like I respected a lot of my opponents and coaches, but did not look up to him.
That's good. All right. So you mentioned Russell. You mentioned let's talk about Cousy for a second. With Cousy, was he someone that you had a lot of conversations with, like when he didn't give me a mentoring ship?
Didn't have a lot of conversations with Bob.
Bob
was an analyst talking about our games a lot.
Yeah.
But didn't have a lot of conversations. Had a few conversations with Russell.
He did.
About Mr. Russell about different things, and he is the pillar of this organization when it comes to a player. Red Auerbach was the architect, but the pillar was Bill Russell with the multiple championships. I mean, possibly, as they say, the greatest winner in sports history in winning 8 championships in a row, 11 championships, 2 Olympic gold medals. And so this guy was the ultimate winner.
Mm. Tell me a little bit about your friend ML Carr.
ML is my buddy.
Yeah.
ML, I've been dealing with him for years. And met ML in Greensboro at Bob McAdoo. My good buddy had a summer league and played against ML there. Yep. And then ML was traded from Detroit to Boston in 1980. I think it was 1979 or 1980. I was wearing the number 30 at the time. ML Carr came in. He was wearing 30. He had a bunch of jewelry. He asked me, could we change jerseys? And I said, sure. And that's how I ended up getting the number 31.
31. And
but dude, I gotta go here in a minute. So
okay, man.
A couple more questions. I gotta go.
No. I want to say thank you for coming on the show. It's been a great time, and Max, it's been fun, and hope to have you back on again at some point soon.
Well, thank you for having me, and continued success to you. And you and your dad, and what you do for the community. I think that when you have a voice like yours in a broadcasting arena, only makes the rest of us stronger.
It really does. It really does. And again, Max, you're a friend for life, my friend, and I will definitely be. I'll be seeing you soon for sure at a signing. I bet you somewhere.
All right, take it easy, bud.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Bye bye.
Bye bye, brother.